Welcome to the 30-Minute Hour. It's the personal development podcast for entrepreneurs and executive leaders who are looking to level up and become unstoppable. I'm your host, Eric Twiggs, your procrastination prevention partner. My co-host, you know him as the super CEO, the business strategist extraordinaire, and all-around good guy, Ted Fells, should be joining us here momentarily. I know he's in a bunch of meetings today, so we'll certainly weave him in once he does come in. But today, we've got a special treat. This is a historic episode of the 30-Minute Hour podcast. And as I speak, we've got the super CEO himself who's just joined us. Welcome, Ted.
How y'all doing?
Very well, sir. Good to see you.
Nice of you to join us there, Ted. All right.
Yeah, I'm sorry I was somewhere, it's Founders Day for Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity, if you all know. And so we were having some discussions around that with some colleagues here. Everybody's excited. Everybody is excited. I understand, Mr. Holbert, I think that you're a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity.
Yes, sir. Life member, 45 years.
Wow, that's great. Congratulations. Congratulations. That's great.
Well, thank you. And congratulations to you all as well. 1911 was a very good year.
Yes, it was. Certainly, we do want to officially say Happy Founders Day to all the members of Kappa Alpha Psi.
Ben, I thought Eric was going to call me bright and early this morning and wish me Happy Founders Day. He didn't. I had to bring it up to him that it was
Yeah, we were commiserating about it before you joined us,
Right.
We won't call it a national day of mourning because we know that what you all have done has been pretty good.
We would never call it that. No.
That's right. Thank you. No. I appreciate it. Both are amazing organizations doing some great things in the community and in the world. But we're only going to talk about one today.
No. Okay.
I don't know about all that. We're talking about the Kappas, though. Happy Founders Day to you.
That's right. That's right. Thank you. Good to meet you, sir.
Good stuff. Sir. So we'll give our esteemed guest a formal introduction, but this is a first. And Ted, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
If we've ever had a mayor of a province, a town, or what have you, on the 30-Minute Hour, this is a first.
No, we have not had. The closest we've had to a mayor was what's the comedian's name? They used to call him the mayor.
Oh, Chris Thomas.
Yeah, Chris Thomas. That's the closest. Yeah, we had Chris Thomas. He called himself the mayor.
But he wasn't an elected official.
So no official mayor. No official mayor. So this is indeed a special occasion. We just appreciate you joining us today.
Yeah, it's truly an honor. Like I said, I want to give you a formal introduction here. But the theme of our episode today is the surprising payoff of people first leadership. That's what we're going to talk about today. So this applies to you, whether you're aspiring to get into politics, if you're in business, if you're working for a company and you're in a leadership. Everybody's a leader on some level. I think you'll get some good information out of today's episode. So our guest today, he's a mayor. He's an award-winning journalist. He's a lifelong storyteller. He's got 30 years in media with 4 Emmy Awards. He just brings a unique perspective on leadership, communication, and public service. As the mayor of Woodmere Village, he brought in nearly $10 million in grants. He's launched innovative public safety programs. He's earned a reputation for collaborative, people-first leadership. He's a graduate of Kent State University and a proud member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Please join me. Respect, man. Absolutely. Please join me in welcoming to the show Mayor Ben Holbert.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Sir, it is truly an honor to have you on and really talk about your experiences. I know we talked in the past, and you gave me some interesting things and perspectives about being the mayor that I had never even considered.
Oh my.
So we can get into that today, and I think we're going to have some good takeaways for our listeners and viewers. So let's start from your Kent State days.
Okay.
What was the vision that you had for your career during that time?
Well, my vision when I went to Kent State University was to go to Kent, play baseball for the Golden Flashes, and then ultimately wind up getting drafted and play baseball, Major League Baseball. But that didn't happen. And I found out very quickly that I needed, if you will, a plan B. That should have been my plan A. So what wound up happening, when the coach basically told me, the baseball coach, because I did go to see if I could try out, but he basically kicked me out of his office and told me to use some choice words in the process. But what I did was I sat down and I tried to think about, okay, so now what's next? My cousin went to Kent State to study journalism and broadcasting. And unfortunately, he did not make it through, but I was successful. I spent my time at Kent, took broadcasting classes, engineering classes, and then over the summer, I would come back home and I would work at local radio and television stations, and one thing led to another. And in 1985, I landed a job as a radio reporter, midday news anchor, and talk show host. So that's how it evolved from that point.
That's interesting. So I'm curious, like if you could go back and talk to that undergraduate version of yourself, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give him?
Run, Forrest, run. Man, no. The reality of it was I wished I was a better student. I mean, when I talk some days I share with my kids some of the things that we did, and they're amazed. But when I was there, all it was I was going to class, I was participating, I was trying to do some different things here and there. One of the things I guess I'm most proudest of when I was at Kent is we went to Washington, D.C. We were Black United Students, Divine Nine. We went to Washington, D.C. to make Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday a national holiday. And so John Conyers out of Michigan, Stevie Wonder came and sang. And so we did all those different things as young undergrads. And then we demonstrated on campus because, quite frankly, people that look like you and I weren't getting a clear shot at it. So we would mobilize, we would get together, we would protest, we would demonstrate, we would go to football games in mass and make sure that if anybody was watching or the cameras pointed toward our way, that we would make sure that the world knew that we weren't happy with the way that things were being done for Black and brown students at Kent State. So to go back to your question about what would Ben now tell Ben then, be a little bit more aggressive. I was somewhat aggressive, but when I look back on it, it's like, man, you got to run that ball up the middle. You're going to get hit. You're going to get tackled. Somebody going to do some crazy things to you. But at the same time, you can't be afraid. And I think the guy that's sitting before you all now is pretty much one of those, the guy that wish that if he could go back and tell his earlier self, don't give in, don't give up, just keep on pushing. And since we are a part of the Divine Nine, I will use this analogy and hopefully it will make good sense, not only in this format, but also to anybody who's listening. But when I was pledging, and you all both know, it was not an easy process. But after my first evening of engagement, if you will, I said, there's nothing nobody's going to do that's going to make me stop, because I'm not going to stop short of my goal. And that has stuck with me throughout my life, because there's been a number of times where people have said, man, you should just quit. Don't worry about that, man. Leave those guys alone. Don't push. That's not in my DNA. And so you've gotta, no matter what happens, answer the bell, show up, and do your best to show out.
Okay. And so you've spent over 30 years in journalism. You earned these 4 Emmys. So I'm curious, like what life lessons did you learn from that experience you had in journalism?
Well, I'm going to be very blunt and honest. I mean, it was a tough way to go because, quite honestly, when I entered journalism, if you will, for the television stations, if you had 2 of us that looked like us, you had too many. So I was one in the newsroom. Maybe there was a couple in the building itself, but one of the challenges was having at that point Black people on television. I mean, I got involved with TV in the early 80s and was on air in 1985. And I was always told, well, you should go over to that television station because they don't have any Black folks over there. So you might stand a chance of getting on the air. And there we did have a number of pioneers. A gentleman, his name is Leon Bibb, and Leon came into Cleveland. He was the first Black evening news anchor in the Cleveland area. And so I happened to be a colleague, a coworker of his. And later on in my career, I took a class at Case Western Reserve University, and what they did was they tried to pair us with a mentor. And so the lady comes to me one day and she says, well, we want to pair you with the gentleman. His name is Leon Bibb. And I bust out laughing. I said, me and Leon been knowing each other for years. However, to be able to sit at Leon's foot and to listen to his stories of resilience and listen to his stories of what he had to go through, even to this day, I still appreciate all of that. And I want to give a shout out to Alpha Phi Alpha because Leon's a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity. So, we all, the Divine Nine, we do what we can to show up and show out and make a difference for those who are coming behind us.
That's great.
Yeah, for sure. So what advice do you? Because there's someone who's going through this today, where they're the only, or they're one of 2, and they're experiencing certain things. Maybe it's in the workplace. What advice do you have for that person who's watching or listening to us now?
You have to be resilient. You have to be measured. One of the phrases that I used a lot as mayor, I always like to measure twice and cut once. Because once you cut, you can't go back and try to seam it back up where it's seamless from where you cut. But, I'll go back to when I first got into television. I had a lady that worked with me. She was a secretary for the news director. She pulled me aside and she said, you can't run through here like a bull in the china shop. She said, these people will kick you out and you'll never see the inside of a TV station again. So what I wind up doing was I had to be very measured in the way that I approach things. Some days you got to have a very thick skin, but you also have to stand up for yourself. But you also got to look for opportunities. And, if I could share this one, I'll try to be as brief as possible. But it's about tenacity and not taking no for an answer. So my very first job in radio, I had been sending out resumes all over the country, Texas, Cleveland, New York, wherever. And they would always come back with the response, no, we're not hiring you. So one day I just happened to call a radio station here in Cleveland and I asked to speak to the news director. Well, the receptionist who answered, she said, well, Miss Bailey can't talk right now because she's in the middle of a taping. So all I had to hear was she's there. She's in the middle of a taping. Man, I got my resume. I got my audition tape. I got in the car. I flew over to the radio station. And when I walked in, the same receptionist was there. And she says, well, do you have an appointment? I said, what are you talking about? I just talked to you a few moments ago.
That's right. That's an appointment. That's right.
That's it. So I sat down and Miss Bailey came out and she said, "Do I have an appointment with you?" I said, "Miss Bailey, if you give me 5 minutes, if you don't like what you hear, you'll never have to hear from me again. But I think I have something that will be of value." So a 5-minute interview turned into a 2-hour interview. And 2 weeks later, I was on air working at the radio station. So it's about tenacity. You can't take no for an answer. You just got to figure out a way how to go around to get to where you want to be.
So she really respected your approach to it, right? I mean,
and Maureen Bailey and Maureen still works at the ABC affiliate in Cleveland. We collaborate to this day. And that was 1985, August, I believe, when we had that initial conversation. And that's another thing too, gentlemen. Be careful. The people that you meet as an undergrad, somebody that you may meet while you just first, get out of school and working, or even if you just go to work somewhere, be careful how you treat people, because you never know where those folks are going to go. And you never know if they might call your name in a room that you're not in. So you have to be very careful. And I got another good friend of mine when we were in college, and this may not make a whole lot of sense to a lot of your audience, but I'll try to make it plain. But I had buddies that criticized him because he had friends all over the place. So the nickname they gave him was, he's the miscellaneous or the miso ambassador, basically saying that this guy knows everybody. But you know what? This guy, if you dropped him in the middle of the Sahara Desert right now, in 5 minutes, he would probably know 10 people, because he knew how to network. He knows how to network. He knows how to treat people right. And he knows how to make that network work for him. So, that would be another piece of advice while you're sitting up in class. If a person is a college student right now sitting up in class, person is sitting next to you, you never know if that person is going to wind up being a federal court judge. Because I had that. There was a guy next to me, federal court judge. We've had some other people who are CEOs of companies. We've had people who have done outstanding things. But if they remember you as being the good guy as opposed to being the bad guy, then they might pick up the phone and give a call one day.
Yeah. No, I think that whole networking piece is so important. My technology company, we every summer bring on interns. We had probably about 6 or 7 interns that were working together, and I talked to them about the value of networking and asked them to each start to kind of simulate, a networking event, had them kind of talking to each other. And then I even brought people from my team in the room for them to try to network with them. And, I was just saying, like, some of these different students are at different schools and all of that. And you don't know, you may have a friend that's going to their school that you may be able to make a connection. You never know when you come out of school about internships and those types of things. So any of those opportunities that you have to network, you should take advantage of them. So that's great.
Because when I was telling you all as well about when we used to protest and demonstrate at Kent, there was a gentleman, your audience is not going to know the name, but he wound up becoming a lawyer. Then he became a council member. Then he became a state senator. And now he's a judge, municipal court judge. And we've been knowing each other since Kent State days, when we were on campus protesting and doing craziness. Now we're both elected officials. So, amazing. You never know where the road is going to take you.
Yeah. And the thing you mentioned about your name coming up in rooms, I could say even back, earlier in my corporate career, several jobs I got, there were people who mentioned me and gave me a reference that I never reached out to them and said, "Hey, I'm going to be talking to this person." They said, "Oh, hey, we know Joe, and Joe was telling us about you and this and that and this and that."
That's it.
So what if I was a jerk to Joe?
And that's it.
The door would have been closed. I would have never known what happened.
You would have never known. And, and I mean, when I got my position, or hopefully earned my position in television, I was the 5th reporter hired out of 5. And I remember the news director, he tells me what the salary was. I'm like, oh my God. I said, man, any opportunity to move on that? He said, you want the job or not? I said, well, I'll take the job. But what it was, somebody called him and said, Ben's a good dude. You starting this new 10 o'clock news operation in Ohio. And, if you got that one slot open, because there were about 25 people, no, I'm sorry, not 25 people, 2,500 people that applied for the news reporting positions. So I was one of 5 people that were selected. And gentlemen, I tell you, I was not the greatest reporter, but hopefully my attitude and behavior preceded me, and somebody felt comfortable enough to pick up the phone and say, you know what, get that guy a shot. And quite frankly, when I got that shot helped me feed my family for several years. That shot helped me launch a career where I was covering village council meetings. So now what I learned as a council reporter translated into me wind up being a council member, and then ultimately becoming a mayor. So, it's, and I got the good Lord. Hey man, Lord, you can't write these scripts. So, that's another thing too. I when I was in college, I have fun. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah.
But
we know about your cues and stuff.
I wasn't going to church every Sunday. Let's put it there.
No.
But man, don't you forget about the good Lord. Don't you put the good Lord under a bushel.
That's right.
Yeah, he has a way of reminding you.
Don't he? Won't he do it?
Won't he do it? That's right.
So during your career as a journalist, you interviewed presidents.
Oh yeah.
Tell us about that.
Oh man, I remember I was in the room with Bill Clinton one time. Probably he was 10 feet away from, now Secret Service is all around him, but I'm looking, I said, here's this little dude that grew up on the southeast side of Cleveland, and I'm here in the room with Bill Clinton. So that was one. Another one, Hillary Clinton, when Secretary of State, when she was there, she came to Akron University, and as a reporter, I was able to get up close and ask her questions. One of the other people that I'm always going to remember, before she was Oprah, I interviewed Oprah Winfrey.
Oh wow!
And, oh man, it was the greatest experience because she was just about to do her syndicated show, and there was promotion at the ABC affiliate here in Cleveland. And when I saw it, I knew about Oprah, but I don't think a lot of other people did. So I called the television station. And I said, I'm a radio reporter. Can I interview this lady? And they said, sure, we'll set it up. Man, I sat down and I talked with Oprah for an hour. And I mean, she told me about everything, when she was in Baltimore and Nashville and all the slings and arrows that she dealt with. And this is, she also told us about The Color Purple with Quincy Jones seeing her and how she got involved with The Color Purple. But, everybody's got some bumps and bruises along the way before you see them become that overnight success. And so whenever I see Oprah now, I just sit back and I sort of laugh. I say, hey, I interviewed Oprah before she was Oprah. So, yeah, man.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
So Ben, the first time that you went on the air, like, what was that like? Like, I could only imagine, right? Because I remember as a kid, I mean, it's interesting. I listened to some of the things that you talk about. I used to play Little League baseball and high school baseball, and I always thought that I was going to be playing for the Baltimore Orioles. That didn't happen. I played a little bit of softball and all, but I never got a chance to do that. And then I remember thinking, I said, it would be great, man, to be like a sportscaster, a newscaster or whatever. So just to hear what that was like that first day, like when you knew, like, okay, what you went through to get to that point, and then, okay, tomorrow morning or tomorrow night is going to be my first Tell us what that was like.
Well, let me put it to you like this, and I don't mind telling on myself, but when I worked in radio, my first day on the air, I couldn't pronounce the call letters of the radio station that I was working at, and it's WJMO radio, and I would go WJMNO, and my buddies would clown me when I would come on. Man, you working at the radio station and you don't even know the call letters.
Hilarious.
But it was nerves, you nervous. Here I am. I think at that point I was like 24, 25 years old, and a major market radio station. And then when I went to television, because now you're doing something on camera and you're trying to present that information to a live audience. And so when you see the reporter and they're talking about all the different things and so forth, so, man, I could probably get out about 5 seconds worth of information before I would send it to the story that was already produced earlier. But man, the nerves of talking in front of a large audience of people. I mean, some nights we would have an audience of 10, 15 million people. And having the reality of knowing that when you're live, you're talking to all those people. And so, but yeah, it was a little rough in the beginning. But thank goodness I got over the nerves. And when they called my name that day and they said the winner of the Emmy Award, Ben Holbert, shoot, man, I about fell out. I fell out. But we did a lot of stories to try to help kids. I received an Emmy Award for PSA that I did. It was called Can Do. Well, one was Can Do Kids, and the other one was Ben Holbert Raps About Gangs. And what we were trying to do at that point was we had a lot of gangland violence here in the city of Cleveland. Kids were getting, dying left and right. So one of the TV producers came to me and they said, man, you look young. Why don't you do one of these PSAs for us? So I did. We produced it. And I mean, it was 10 seconds. And what I said was, make your mama cry, lose your best friend, die an early death. Do you really want to be in a gang? Think about it. Peace out. 10 seconds. And it wound up being an Emmy Award winning piece of work. So, that was 40 something years ago, but I still remember the script. Still remember it.
Man, that's amazing. So we've got a question from one of our frat brothers, Ben, Keith Major Sr. Here's his question. He says, as a mission-focused business leader, any thoughts or ideas on how I can effectively reinforce the importance of interpersonal and relationship building skills among Gen Z professionals who have grown up in a highly technology medicated environment, mediated environment, and may have had fewer opportunities to develop traditional face-to-face communication and networking competencies?
Woo! Great question.
What is Keith doing with this long question, Eric? That's your friend?
That's my frat brother. Yeah.
He trying to put me on the spot. Come on, frat. No. But no, it's a good question in so many ways because, you do have the different, I'm a baby boomer. And then, you got the various generations and the people that before me, the silent generation. And those folks, we learned differently. We dealt with people differently. We communicated differently. And, my concern now, and I hope I'm answering his question, but, you got to sort of meet as a boss or a supervisor. You got to meet the person where they are the best way you can. You got to see if you can extract the best out of them. Some days they're not going to do the things that you expect them to do or want them to do, but do you throw the baby out with the bathwater? Or do you try to see if you can try to compromise or work together to, if you're the supervisor, to coach them up? And I mean, I can tell you as a mayor, I've worked on other projects where I've been the boss. There were a couple of times that you have to exercise tough love. And then there's some times that you just got to sit back and say, you know what, this is not working. And you got to have that come to Jesus meeting, or have that very honest meeting with the person, and not to kick them out, because like we were talking a little bit earlier, gentlemen, but you never know, that person may wind up being your boss one day. Yeah. So, you don't let people down hard. You don't try to embarrass them, or you don't try to put them in a position where, they're humiliated. But I would strongly suggest trying to coach somebody, try to work with somebody, trying to recognize that we all learn in different ways and patterns. My father, he used to always tell me, he said, man, you can be a committee of one, do the job until you get it done. Well, that's how I grew up. But there's some other people, man, they're like, okay, I'll get back to you once I text somebody, or I'll get back to you once I, do this Zoom call or whatever else like that. So, you got to try to meet people where they are, and you would hope that the person on the other end will receive, if you're giving them positive feedback. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah, I think that's great. The whole idea of meeting where they are, and you could even incorporate what Ted was talking about earlier, with like what he does with his staff, where he does just the networking exercises and things like that nature, because it's not as, we had to network because it wasn't a digital age when we were coming up.
You had to actually talk to people.
Right. Right. So Keith, great question. And then those of you, I see we got Rudy Jackson commenting, great show, guys. Dr. Jackson, we appreciate you as well. We have other people I see that are watching. Please feel free to comment, share your questions. So let's talk more about this. How you transition you started to get into it, how you transition from journalism to ultimately getting into politics and becoming the mayor.
Oh, great question too, Eric. What happened? I was out in my yard one day. I was in transition between one television station and thinking I was going to go to the next one. And one of my neighbors came up to me and she said, you need to go up there and see what's going on up at Woodmere Village Hall, because those people are crazy. And to give you a point of reference, if you remember seeing Will Smith, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and his mother in the opening credits, that's how she was doing me. She was pointing her finger. I just said, wait a minute, Bonnie, wait a minute, hold on. I said, I'm a reporter. I'm not a politician. Right. But, I listened to what she said. I went up to the village council meeting, and I tell you, gentlemen, it was like bare knuckle fighting. The mayor and the council president were going at it. The mayor at that point told the council president, hey, why don't we step outside and discuss this? I was like, golly, and I was sitting in the audience. So at the end, there's public comment, and everybody in there knew that I was the reporter, but, they wouldn't expect the reporter to come to the council meeting and make a comment. And I just told him, I said, with all due respect, you all haven't passed one piece of legislation here tonight. You arguing at each other. And, I know the mayor, but the mayor's telling the council president, let's go outside and fight. So one thing led to another. And I came home and, I talked to my wife. I talked to the good Lord. Yeah. And since I was in between gigs, I just said, what the heck, let me run. And wound up getting elected. And my first year I was on council, I was learning, but then I was going to go support the council president for the next year. And she said, no, I'm voting for you. So for 5 years, I was council president. And because we're term limited in our community, the mayor can only run for 2 4-year terms. And the other mayor was going out. So he kept saying, you need to run. And so I did it and did 8 years. So that was the transition. Some days I still sit back and say, Lord Jesus, I know I asked you, let me be your instrument, but come on now, some of the stuff ain't funny.
That's right.
But you know what? I'm happy that the good Lord sent me into Woodmere. It's like, sending Jonah in the well, spitting. I don't want to go to Nineveh, Lord. Yeah, well, you going to Nineveh. And what wind up happening is I think we did some good stuff for the people here. We, like you mentioned in the beginning, I'm proud. We raised we obtained close to $10 million in grant dollars for our small community. And, I believe it's about being in the room, being at the right place, knowing what to say to people, know how to navigate the room, and walking out with the check. In the state of Ohio, and I'm sorry, gentlemen, if I give verbal diarrhea, as they say, and just start going on and on.
No, you're fine. You're doing great. This is great.
Y'all grab me and pull me back. But what wind up happening, I would go to all these different meetings. So I went to the state of Ohio, the State House, and one of the directors for Governor DeWine, she comes in and she says, well, if you all have any shovel-ready projects, just let us know, because we've got money, but it was sort of a surly way of saying it. Shoot, I got up from my chair. I went over to the elevator because I knew Sister Girlfriend was going to have to come out. And when she walked out, I got in front of her and I said, Director, we got this project in Woodmere Village. We need some money. We need this. We need that. So she said, well, how much do you need? And I said, well, we need $1 million. So she said, get in touch with so-and-so. Well, I didn't get $1 million, but I got $500,000. So, and that's because a closed mouth don't get fed. And so I got $500,000 in what, about 10 minutes? So, and that's what's called bringing home the bacon for the people that you represent. And I'll go to my grave knowing that I think I did a really good job for the folks here in the village of Woodmere.
Yeah, so you and I talked about this before. What are some of the aspects of the job of mayor that would surprise people?
Well, I can tell you this, it's a lonely job. People think that it's glamorous, that you kiss babies, you write proclamations, you go to ribbon cuttings. Yeah, that's a part of it. But people don't see that you wake up at 3:00 in the morning in a cold sweat because you don't know what you got to deal with the next day. You don't know if you got to deal with a disgruntled union. You don't know if you got to deal with a disgruntled residents, and it can be very difficult. One of the things that I learned early on, you got to know how to count. And let me explain what that means. We have 7 council members. Where I served as mayor, it was a weak mayor, strong council form of government. So if the council members said, man, we ain't doing that. If you don't have the votes, forget about it. You're not going to get it done. And so, I learned that the hard way with a couple of projects, but one that I was able to get through, and this is what wound up happening. I went to the residents and I told them about a project where I received $250,000 from the state legislature and the county. And it was to build sidewalks or pedestrian trail in our community. Well, I got the money, but the council would not approve the construction. So when I told the community rally came out and they wind up recalling the 4 council members who said that they didn't want this project because in essence, what they were saying, we don't want $250,000. And for a community the size of mine, you get $250,000 here, you get 100,000 there. That's big money. Our budget in Woodmere is $4 million. That's the annual budget, $4 million. So, you try to do what you can to get the loot. You try to do what you can to take care of your residents and the people and the businesses. And, those are the things that people may not be aware of. And again, I want to really emphasize leadership is lonely. I've been the bossless of my chapter on the graduate level, and brother, woo, if you've been to Pole Mark before, it can be lonely because everybody's pointing their fingers at you. Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? But who do you go to talk to? who do you get a chance to sit down and say, you know what, they kicking my, you know what,
Right.
you know,
Right.
So
You can't vent down, right?
No, I don't know how many times I would come home and my wife said, well, how is things at council? How is things at work? I said, well, honey, you should, you know what? I don't want to talk about Woodmere Village. And she would go in the other room. So it's like, who am I going to talk to?
Wow.
You know, even the dog would walk away. Oh Lord, you gonna come in here and talk about Woodmere. Let me go outside.
Let me go outside. Let me go walk myself.
And so it was not uncommon to have constituents calling you just about random things going on in the yard, things.
Eric, man, one of the things I laugh about the most, because we're sort of in a rural area. It's real close to the city, but it's sort of country. And I had this lady come to me. She was always upset. Mayor, we got coyotes in the village, and you're not doing anything about it. I said, well, what you want me to do? You want me to put a sign up to say, I'm sorry, coyotes, y'all can't come into Woodmere. You That's can't do that. We displace them. But man, you would get people that would ask you about stuff and complain. I got a program where it was called the Interior Maintenance Program, where we were able to get free money for residents for grab bars. If they're senior citizens, they get grab bars in their bathroom, get a ramp going into their house, get a shower enclosure. And I had people complain, we got them free money. And they were still complaining because I didn't like the color. Well, when the contractors came in to install it, why didn't you tell them, I don't want that color, I want another color? But you wait for them to install it, then you call the mayor and say, I want them to take it out. So, I can say these things now, gentlemen, because I'm out of office. I'm not clowning on anybody. I'm not hating on anybody. But in my book, no, I'm going to put them in my memoirs to let them know this is what happened here. This is what happened there. But yeah, there's been some very good days as mayor, but I will be honest with you. There can be some very difficult days.
So, you're a people first leader.
Yeah.
Right. So can you kind of talk about what that looks like in action?
I would call it servant leadership. I mean, because a person to do this job, you got to like people, for one. A person to do this job, you got to advocate for people. You have got to go in and say, I'm going to be the one. I might take the slings and the arrows, but later on, you're going to appreciate the fact that I did decide to run, that I did decide to do this. I did try to overcome sleepless nights. And, hey, let's keep it real, gentlemen. Medically, my numbers, I went to my doctor, and when I first went into office, my numbers were here. And then I go to the doctor, he said, man, what's going on with you? Yo, hypertension, this, that is going up. And the only thing we can attribute it to, honestly, is stress. And, so self-care, when I'm talking to anybody that's looking to get into public office, and I try to be very honest with you better take care of yourself, because 6 months ago, guy who had been in office in another community he was the mayor for 23 years. He died in office. And they're going to select his successor tomorrow in an election. And the people that are running very rarely bring up his name. This dude did some awesome things for his community, but you are so replaceable. And so that's one of the things, when I would go to my doctor and the doctor was talking about, your numbers are crazy and this, that, and the other. And I come home and think about my wife and my kids. I say, you know what? I'm going to do this job. I'm going to finish the race, but I'm going to take care of Ben because I want to be around for the family. Wow.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
All worked up, and I'm talking. I won't even let y'all ask any questions.
Man, this is good, man. This is good. But shoot, that question that you got from your fraternity brother, but I'm afraid that if he putting up some more questions out there.
Yeah. Ooh, look at the time.
So we're talking about this idea of people first leadership. Like, how do you think that style of leadership could benefit? 'Cause we have quite a few business leaders, executives, entrepreneurs. How can that style of leadership benefit them?
Well, I personally think, and I'll try to use this for an example. My last 8 years, I give evaluations to my directors, and so in the last one, I try to coach people up the best way I can. And when Dave gave the last evaluation, my fire chief, my police chief, the first thing they said was, "We're gonna miss you. We're going to miss you as being mayor because you treated us nice. You did not come in and say, I'm expecting this, I'm expecting that." If I believe in that phrase, what you do is you hire competent people and you get out of the way and let them do their thing. And they will make you look good. My service director, when I hired him, I just broke it down to him and I said, you know what? You have forgot more about being a service director than I'll ever know. Only thing I'm looking for is to see if you work well with the men and women in that department. And that dude was with me the whole time and just did outstanding things. And I will share this with you as well. I've worked with a number of people as bosses, and some that I will always remember because they were kind, they were courteous, they taught, they were teachers. And then I remembers the one that, quite frankly, if they were involved in a 5-alarm fire and there were some things that we all had that would be able to put them out, I might be going in the other direction. And I hope that doesn't sound crass and cruel, but what you give to people as a leader, you should be trying to make other leaders. You shouldn't be trying to tear somebody down or to make somebody feel as though they're less than. And I gotta squeeze this one in because I am happy and proud to sit here before you all. I hired the first female fire chief in Cuyahoga County. Cuyahoga County encompasses Cleveland. It's a large footprint. But when this lady came, excellent credentials, it was one lady and 15 gentlemen. And she rose to the cream of the crop. And I just told the HR department, I said, I'm staying out of this until you get to the very last selection. And they came in and they gave me 3 people. And Gina DeVito Staub, we interviewed with her. And I said, I'm giving this woman a shot. And she has done fabulous. So, give people an opportunity and let them shine. So that would be my suggestion.
Okay, so your term was up with January 1st. So you're now the former mayor. What's next on the horizon for you?
Ooh, I'm going to Disney World. No, it's a great question. Matter of fact, I was in the library earlier today, and the lady that I work closely with at the library asked me the same thing. But gentlemen, what I'm planning on doing, I was appointed back in the summer by the fraternity to do voter registration, education, and mobilization. So I'm going to be working very closely with the brothers in Ohio and West Virginia. Our focus is going to be getting people to turn out to vote. It is one thing to be registered. Anybody can get registered for the most part, but the task is to take them and get them to the polls. And then what's also very important is people got to know what they're voting for. So if a person says, hey, I like him because he gives great sound bites, but then you find out later on that the person is doing some craziness, and I ain't going there. I'll just let you all figure it out for yourself. But you wind up getting impacted in so many different ways. kids lose SNAP benefits. You know, you wind up seeing wars that pop up and you're like, what is happening there? And I'm not speaking about anybody or anything. I'm just using examples. So people, when they sign up to vote in registration, that's one part. The other element should be, I got to find out what the issues are, and I got to find out who these candidates are. And one thing that I do want to make sure your audience hears this as well is that you definitely need to pay attention to the judges, because the judge is probably the only person in the face of the earth that can take your property, they can take your livelihood, and some of them can take your life. So if you just go in and you just say, oh, Lord, I'm going to play the name game on this election, this person has always got elected because of their last name, and you wind up voting for that person over and over again, or somebody who's related to that person over and over again, or somebody who's in the same ethnicity of that person, and then you wind up later on finding out that that person was giving you the blues as a population, as a people. So you got to be educated. And that's what I'm hoping to be able to do, not only doing PR and marketing, because that's another little thing I hope to be able to do in my encore career, but you know, those are the things that I want to try to make happen, if you will.
Yeah, this has been a great episode. Just a lot of nuggets that you shared just from your unique experiences and the journalism arena and being the mayor. Again, I said before, this is a historic episode. This is our first time ever having a mayor on, so this has been great. But now, Ben, we're coming up on Ted's favorite part of the show.
Okay.
This is his favorite part of the show. It's called Write This Down.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah,
Ted, you want me to write something down?
So this is where we each go around and we just talk about one aspect or one takeaway, at least, from today's show that people need to write down so they can level up. So, Ben, you're the guest of honor. What do you think people need to write down based off of today's show?
Well, one of the things that I'm always talking about and thinking about is that, you know, some of the greatest ideas are in the cemetery. And that's because some people who had some great ideas let them wither on the vine. And when they passed away, those great ideas went into the grave. So, you know, if I could give a little pearl of wisdom, if you will, you know, if you've got an idea, if you've got a thought or suggestion, do not just put it off to tomorrow, to next year, next month, or whatever. Don't say that I can't do it. Give it a shot. I mean, I've owned a restaurant before. Lord Jesus, I don't know how in the devil that happened, but I did it. And we did pretty well. I mean, we did pretty well, but we ran up against this thing called COVID. So, you know, but I did it. I tried. So, you know, that's the thing. Take your ideas and transform them from a concept to a reality the best way you can. And, you know, there's some great folks out there, you know, like Ted was saying, he did HR, he did different things. Go pull on that advice, that wisdom. You know, there's this guy out right now on social media. Some of you all may have seen him, but it's called the School of Hard Knocks. And this guy out of Houston, he goes up to millionaires and billionaires, and he asks them for kernels of knowledge. And it's about 60 seconds where they just run through and they say, do this, don't take no for an answer, keep trying, this, that, and the other. And, you know, I got that thing bookmarked because I never know. You know, I'm done being mayor, but who knows what's next for me? I don't know, but I'm going to try. So don't take your great ideas to the grave. We need them here.
Write that down.
Yeah, so,
thank you for sharing that. That's amazing.
Yeah,
all right, Ted.
So before I give my write that down moment, I had a question for you, Ben. When you think about like when you were on the news, and then you look at like what we're doing now with a podcast.
Yeah.
Right. Like, we just said, Eric and I just one day just said, you know what? We got a story to tell, and we just want to get out there and just get online and, and make some people listen to us. Right.
Yes, sir.
One person or 1,000 people. I mean, we've been doing this since 2019.
Oh, wow.
Right? Yeah. And so probably, several, how many episodes at this point ish?
403 or so. Yeah.
Yeah. And thinking about that, and then thinking about, where you were, right, and trying to get on to, television, and now to think that, hey, there's so many people now that have been able to, leverage digital platforms and be able to do just some amazing things, and have probably reached, depending on who it is, reached, endless numbers of viewers. I mean, what are your thoughts about that?
Well, man, that's a great question, Ted, because, what's that old phrase? Each one reach one, each one teach one. So with you all's podcast, you're reaching people, quite frankly, you may not even know who you're reaching. And somebody is going to sit back with one of these guests that you have, and they're going to get that kernel of knowledge that could propel them, that you never know, 5 years from now, somebody may be giving a speech and they say, I remember listening to this podcast, and these two gentlemen, they had a guest on that was talking about something.
That's
so right. that should give you all energy. That should give you pause to say, hey, look, we may look up and it might be 5 people on this listening today, but tomorrow it may be 10,000, and you just don't know, because your tentacles, the ripple effect, what somebody hears on this platform, on this show, may make a significant difference in the lives of someone. So y'all keep doing it, man. Don't stop. Don't stop.
Thank you. It's interesting. When we first started the show, our guests, and our viewers have probably heard this before, it was always people that we knew. Right, we knew this entrepreneur or that entrepreneur or friend. So every week, Eric, we'd be like, "Do we have somebody?" Right, and we just, let's bring on Chantel. We brought her on 2 weeks ago. We got to have somebody else, right? So then COVID happened, and then instead of us being in my office together doing this, we had to use the virtual platform, and now we have people reaching out to us to be on the show, and there's people that we would have never met and engaged with. And so our listeners are saying, wow, that was really great. You had this person on from London that talked about whatever. And it's just, the reach has been great.
Man, you all stretched across the pond. I can't use my English accent.
Right. London, Australia, all kinds of different places. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Because Eric reached out to me on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
That's, so
it's
we have something in common, but he reached out off of LinkedIn. Hey man, would you be interested in come on and chat? So
yeah, and like you said, you just never know. You just go ahead and shoot your shot. And and we get people on here sometimes and just listen to some of the stories, and it's a great thing. But back to my because I know Eric's thinking, well, Ted, we're past that part, right? So so I just had to pivot for a second. But
January 5th, Ted, it's
look right.
Let me get my notepad. I'm ready.
So this thing I was thinking about, and just listen to what you said earlier, Ben, is I think every relationship or every engagement is an audition.
Yeah.
Right. Like every engagement.
I'm gonna write that down.
To you, and you said, "Hey, I went in. I had this opportunity. I found out this person was available. I got my resume. I got my, my tape, whatever, and let me get in here and shoot my shot." Right.
Yeah.
And then you talked about other episode opportunities where you had a chance to get funding for your town and all of that, and so every engagement, right, is an audition, right? And you just don't know. And as I talked about, sharing that with youth, to be like, hey, you want this to be a great engagement. You don't want somebody to say, hey, you were a knucklehead or whatever. You want to say, hey, that's a good, like one of the things you said, Ben, and I think that this is a statement that always means that, is you said, somebody said, yeah, this guy's a good dude. Like that's one of the greatest compliments, is for somebody to say, yeah, Eric is a good dude. That goes a long way. It doesn't say, hey, he had the best grades or whatever, or he had the most hair, or the greatest hair, or anything. He's just a
real wavy. I know.
Yeah, he's a good dude, and you'll get a shot, at least just to have a an interview or something, just because you're a good dude. So that means a lot. So those are some things that I really got out of this session, is that every engagement is an audition.
Man,
write that down. That was good.
Thank you, Aaron.
100% true.
You didn't think the one I had last week was good, because you say that one was good, but this one, you like this one.
This one was really good.
Oh man!
But now, so yeah, I agree with that, because like you just never know who's watching, right?
Yeah.
And that you could be opening the door for yourself. You just never know.
It's funny, Ben. We got this thing where we say share the show, and so there's times I'll go to church and this one lady comes up, she's like, share the show. Share the show. I'm like, I guess you watch.
Right.
Yeah.
You just never know.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So my contribution to this, we talk about this idea of being a people first leader. Like, to me, in 2025, like if you're leading people, I don't think that's like a luxury. I think that's a necessity.
Mm.
Like, I don't see how you
Mm.
can't be a people first leader and expect to continue to thrive and survive. I mean, you have to look at it now. I think there was a time where if somebody had a side hustle, they were that was the exception.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Most people just went to the factory, came home. That's their lot in life. I'm going to work at this job, and then I'm going to retire. Where now, with Keith's question about Gen Z and everything, they all have side things.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
They've got 1 million followers on YouTube. They've got podcasts. They've got all kinds of different things. And if you're not people first, they're going to either go to somebody who is, or they're going to launch into their own thing.
That's it.
So that's write this down. I mean, being people first, it's not a luxury; it's a necessity.
It's a necessity.
Great, absolutely.
Yep.
You can't afford not to be people first.
That's right.
Because we're living in an age where this is all people. Well, not all, but this is what most people are doing. If you go out to dinner in a restaurant and a family of four sitting up there, all four of them are doing like this.
That's right.
They're not even talking to one another. So
yeah, and people just aren't going to tolerate a bad boss like they would in years past.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm telling you.
All right. So we
Man.
talked about the. I'll tell you, we talked about the surprise and payoff of people first leadership. Definitely want to thank you, Ben, for everything that you shared. And so if people want to connect with you and get more information, what's the best way for people to connect with you?
Do it the same way Eric did it. Reach out to me on LinkedIn. So I think it's in Holbert, LinkedIn, whatever like that. Just put Ben Holbert Mayor and hopefully it'll pop up. You should be in good shape. And,
for sure.
And hopefully, and if somebody reaches out to me, tell me that they heard it on the show, so I can come back and let y'all know. See, y'all reach some dude in Botswana heard you.
That's right.
Oh man! So thank you for sharing again. Thank you for sharing everything that you shared. And for those of you watching and listening, don't forget to share the show.
Share the show.
Keep this great information a secret.
And also, happy Founders Day. All my fraternity brothers out there, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated.
Represent. Go on and represent. There you go.
That's right. Happy Founders Day. All right. So don't forget also that you can reach us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any of those podcasting platforms. You can hit the follow button, hit the subscribe button, and that way you won't miss a future episode. You get an automatic notification. So again, we thank Ben Holbert for everything he shared. And as you think about the surprising payoff, the people first leadership, please remember this. Don't allow perfect to become the enemy of progress. Thank you and have a great one.